Welcome back everyone. In this video we'll be replacing the tire on the 2022 Apollo City. The tools we're going to use in this video are a 2.5 and a 4mm Allen key, a ratchet with a 21mm socket, some pry bars, and an air pump. Now if you're working on a single motor city and you're changing the tire on the front wheel, what you'll need is two 6mm Allen keys to remove the wheel from the scooter. Otherwise, the process is exactly the same. The first thing we'll need to do is remove the brake line. So for this, we're gently going to pull on the arm and unscrew the set screw right here. There we go. We can then pull our brake line out of our guide pin, remove our spring, and remove the guide pin from the arm. Just like this. We can then remove the brake line from its bracket and now move on to the wheel nuts. What we'll need to remove the wheel nuts is a 21mm socket on a ratchet. So we can just gently loosen the wheel nuts, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. We can now remove our lug nuts. Just like this, we can remove our rings, and finally the lock ring as well. Now before we remove the wheel, we're going to remove the set screw that holds the drum brake in place with our 4mm Allen key. There we go. Before we remove the wheel, we want to remove this set screw right here that holds the motor cable in place. So what we'll need to do is take a 2.5mm Allen key to unscrew it. There we go. We can now free our motor cable and pull out the motor from the suspension arm. Just like this, and we can put it on the side just like that. What we can do now is remove the drum brake, flip the motor over, and remove all the excess air that we have in the tire. So we'll remove the valve cap, take our 4mm Allen key, and remove all the air. There we go. We can now flip our motor back over and pry the tire out. Now to remove the tire, what we'll need are some pry bars. What we'll need to do is insert them into the tire between the rim and pull it out just like this. So once we have one in, we can work around and pry the rest of the tire out with a second pry bar. Now that our first side is out, we can simply pull out the rest of the tire. And if you do need some help, you can insert a pry bar on the other side to pull the tire out all the way. Just like this. Now to put the tire back on, we need to first match the threading with the front wheel. As we can see, our drum brake would be on this side. So if we flip our motor, the threading should go this way. So in this case, we should install the tire with the threading going opposite way of the front wheel. So to reinstall it, we just need to push the first side onto the rim and start getting our pry bars in there for the second side. Now as you can see, you might need a helping hand if you only have two pry bars, so I suggest that you use 3. But if you go around the edge and work the tire through, it should eventually pop over just like this. Now that we have our tire on, we want to press against the apex to seal the bead as much as possible. Now that the tire's on, we can take an electric air pump and screw it into the air valve. I suggest an electric air pump because you will need a substantial amount of pressure to seal the bead when you start inserting air into the tire. Now that we have our air pump connected, we can turn it on and start to apply pressure on the apex of the tire. Now I put a little bit more air in the tire than was needed. For the city, you should stick around 45 to 50 psi. Right now we're at 47.5 because when we unscrew the valve, we'll lose a little bit of air. There we go. We can now put our valve cap back on. And we can now proceed to reinstall the motor on the scooter. Now that our tire is full, we can reinstall the wheel on the scooter. So we'll make sure to have the proper alignment for our drum brake, having the bracket up top and the arm on the side. And we'll just wiggle our motor into the suspension arms. Just like that. As we can see, our arm is in proper place and our bracket is free. Next, we want to tuck our motor cable back into the suspension arm. We can now take our set screw and reinstall it into the suspension arm to hold the motor cable in place. There we go. And now we can take the drum brake set screw and insert it into the suspension arm as well. There we go. We can now take our wheel nuts, our lock ring, and our washers and insert them onto the motor shaft. There we go. And before tightening them all the way, we'll insert the guide pin for the drum brake, the spring that goes on the line, and we'll reinsert the line into the bracket. The last step will be to insert our brake line into the guide pin and tighten our adjustment screw. So as always, we want to pull the arm back to not put too much tension on the line. For now, we'll leave the drum brake as it is, but we'll adjust it properly at the end. So what we want to do now is grab our 21mm socket and tighten our wheel nuts, always holding the middle to have even pressure. And the same thing on the other side. There we go. So now that our wheel, drum brake, and wheel nuts are back in place, we can flip the scooter and adjust the drum brake. So, same process. We will pull back on the arm and tighten the adjustment screw. We want to tighten just enough so we have sufficient braking power, but we don't want to tighten too much to hear the drum brake rubbing. So let's test it up top. And as we can see, we have a tight brake. And if we roll it now, we hear no rubbing. And that's how you replace a tire on the 2022 Apollo City.